So just a disclaimer, I didn't realize until I'd already made my entire video that I said about a trillion times. At which point I'd already put a lot of hours into this and I didn't want to redo it. So I hope it's not too annoying, but I hope you enjoy my trip to the Blanton Art Museum.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How's everybody doing? I'm going to the Blanton Art Museum for my second time. I went once, took all my pictures, dropped my phone in the rain, so I'm going back again. Anyways, it's hot today, it's humid, it's overcast, but everything's still pretty green and the flowers are out, so it's going to be a pretty trip. Alright, so after an hour and a half drive through traffic, I'm finally here, and it's super hot.
This is really cool. This is late Renaissance. You can see the progression of the artist, the definition of the lines, the realistic perspective, the realistic body proportions, and you can also see a lot of dark religious overtones. This is towards the end of the middle, towards the end of the Renaissance. Rome collapsed, leaving Europe in disarray for what's known as the Dark Ages, at which time the Catholic Church took over. And the Catholic Church was very oppressive, people were very poor, and you can see kind of the darkness that kind of suffocated everybody in all the art from the time period. This is from Albert Dürer. He was a German woodcut artist. He specialized in wood cuttings and wood burnings. This particular artwork is called The Four Horsemen from a series called The Apocalypse, which was completed in 1511. I couldn't really find any dimensions on anything, but this is just about the size of a piece of paper. This was probably one of my favorites. It's oil on canvas. It's huge. They have it posted way high up on the wall, and so you get this super heavy, kind of ominous, oppressive feel from it. The artist's name was Joachim Tuyal. He was from the Netherlands. He lived from 1566 to 1638. The painting's called Raising of Lazarus and is oil on canvas. He uses a lot of dark colors, and you can see a lot of the religious and societal overtones of the time. Like you can see the poor people at the bottom, and you can see the guy in the toga in the back, which was symbolic for something to do with Christianity at the time. And now the fun stuff. This is a polychrome Winocho, or also known as a wine pitcher. It was found in southern Italy and dates back to 300 to 200 BCE. This means that somebody drank wine out of this, or poured wine at least 2,000 years ago. So grapes grown over 2,000 years ago, made into wine over 2,000 years ago. Anyways, it's made out of terracotta, which today is used as a kind of glazy building material. The faded scene on the body shows the features of Eros, the god of love, leading the four-horse chariot of Nike, the goddess of victory. This is a black figure neck amphora of Panathenaic shape. It says it's an oil container, but I know that the Greeks and Romans and Egyptians used to use amphoras to not only drink from and store, but to distill or ferment or brew their beer, liquor, and wine. It's also made from terracotta. It's ancient Greek. It's from around 540 BC. The painting, you can see the painting isn't as advanced as it was in the Renaissance. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's primitive, but it's not as advanced. And the reason that it was so much more advanced in the Renaissance is because the artists of the time would break into graveyards, exhume bodies, cut into them, measure them. And they did this illegally under the penalty of death too, by the way. This is a Urcharian belt. I guess somebody wore this sometime around 650 to 600 BC. It's made out of bronze. The object originates from the ancient culture of Urartu that flourished in present-day Armenia from about 860 BC to 590 BC. The Urartians excelled in metalwork, the best examples of which are found in belts like the work presented here. This is a portrait bust of a bearded man. It's Roman, late 2nd century, early 3rd century. So not quite 2,000 years ago, but getting up there. The ancient Romans would have portraits in marble made of themselves. So this was a real man that lived, hopefully he had a nose, that lived almost 2,000 years ago. He was probably pretty wealthy. It's just amazing that this thing survived all these years, even without a nose. This is a chandelier called Fathom. It was made in 2017 by an artist called Olu Jimmy. It's made from rubber inner tubes, rope, and a wooden pallet. I guess it's about the size of a picnic table. And I'm not really one for installations or like 3D models. I guess, like sculptures if they look realistic. I'm kind of more of a traditional type. I'm not saying I don't appreciate it, but this one really grabbed my attention as I was walking by because the room that it's exhibited in is pretty dark. And so the light bulbs kind of lit everything up, and it was like had put a lot of a lot of shadows on everything, and there was just a glow coming from the artwork. This was another installation that actually kind of grabbed my attention. It's really kind of racy, like kind of like in your face with the bones. And I don't quite understand what the pennies stand for, but the lights and the shadows coming from the bones, because the bones look like they're glowing, first of all. And second of all, they kind of, like, it looks like the shadows on the pennies move as you move around it. The artist's name is Ciodo Meirelles. He's from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This installation was first commissioned for an exhibition about the history of the Jesuits in southern Brazil. It uses 600,000 coins, 800 communion wafers, 2,000 cattle bones. I thought they were people bones on the cool. 80 paving stones, a black cloth, and is entitled "How to Build Cathedrals." Was done in 1987. I like this one. Again, I'm kind of more of a realistic type if I'm going to be looking at art, but this one grabbed my attention. It's oil on canvas by Franz Klein. It was painted in 1960 and is titled Black and White No. 2. The black and white, the contrast is kind of what got my attention as I was walking by it, and I looked, and the brushstrokes look like they are kind of contained, they're kind of like planned, but then they just go crazy for like a split second. So the feeling that I got from it was that there's some type of emotion that's being contained, but just barely. It was cool. I looked at it for a while. I like black and white, like negative shading on tattoos or white cars on black rims.
Alright, so after many hours of going back to the Blanton Art Museum, I am returning to my house with pictures. Thankfully it's not raining and I shouldn't drop my phone in the water.
I want to give a special thanks to Ms. Harmon for making this such an interesting class. I'm so overworked between my multiple jobs and school and everything that I have going on, that it was really kind of a relief when I got in and saw how the class was going to be. I learned a lot. I saw a lot. I got to do some cool stuff. I made some projects, which I hadn't really done in a long time. It was just a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. So thank you, Ms. Harmon.